Good evening, everyone. It is time for the Sunday start, and yes, it is late. And you're probably saying, why start now? Because there's no time like the present to start. So I like the Sunday start because it gives us an opportunity to chart our course for the week and kind of set the stage for what our week is going to look like. Because remember, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So today, I want to talk about wealth, and I want to talk about wealth versus income. I want to talk about wealth versus riches. I want to talk about wealth because we are created to be wealthy. Now, hear me out, because in order to be wealthy, it simply means that you have no lack. That means that you have command over your time. Because again, everything that we have, everything that we do ties back to the time that we have here on earth in this temporal realm. So, what we want to do is we want to maximize our resources in such a way that our time is maximized. In other words, that we have more of our own time at our disposal. Now, one of the things that I want to get clear from the very beginning is that wealth in and of itself is not just money. Let me give you a thought experiment. What would you rather be? Would you rather be the happiest person in the world or the wealthiest person in the world? Now, most people would answer the former. They would say, I want to be happy more than anything else. I'd rather be happy than wealthy. And that's great, except from a scientific standpoint, it's not true. There was a study done about 20 years ago, and I read about this in a book called Neuro Wisdom. And in this book, basically, it said that when they did the study, that more people are happy who have higher incomes, and the people who have higher net worths are more happy. And watch this: if you're happy, that pretty much pertains to you. But if you are wealthy, then that means you are in a position to help other people be happy. You have the ability to bring resources to bear that will impact the happiness of others. I wish I understood this when I was younger, because I spent so much time on the pursuit of happiness when I should have spent more time on the pursuit of wealth. And that's going to sound really crazy. People will say, oh, well, you're sounding like Gordon Gekko from the movie Wall Street, Michael Douglas's character. No, 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 that's not where I am with this. Because wealth is not just money. If all you see when you think of wealth is money, you have some myopia. Okay. And we want to get past that. We want to see farther. Now, when we have wealth, it means that we have resources that work for us instead of us working for them. And that can be your money, it could be your peace, it could be your contentment, it could be even your income. That when you, whatever it is that what you have at your disposal, when it begins to work for you instead of you working for it, you, my friend, are wealthy. And one of the things that I used to look at famous people, athletes, entertainers, people who were in the higher income brackets. And I've spent a lot of my adult life studying people like this because I wanted to understand how they got what they got. Now, one of the things that I found is that these people, they may have incomes. When you look at like professional athletes, for example, they have incomes, high incomes, very intense incomes. But a lot of them when they finish their professional athletic career, they wind up broke. And why is that? You would think that when you have all of these millions coming in, that you're at a point where you don't really need money anymore. But again, one of the things that you have to look at in terms of amassing wealth is that you have to learn to live beneath your means. Now, I'm going to tell you something. This is me and a moment of transparency. I haven't always gotten that. I've always been a substantial earner, but I've also been a substantial consumer, a substantial spender. And I used to invest more than I do now. But what happens is that family will change a lot of that. And that's kind of counterintuitive because you want to make sure that you're providing for your family, not just today, but for tomorrow. But that's another thing. Um, when you have this high income, you're rich. You may actually be rich. I mean, if you're making over $1 million a year, you are among the top income earners in the world. And you, my friend, are rich. At that point, you have enough money to live beyond the standard of 99% of the people on earth. However, However, what happens if that income stops? If that income stops, then you're kind of hit. You are stuck. You are in a place where you may not have any way to replace that. And if you haven't saved anything or if you haven't invested anything, then that high income basically doesn't provide you with any advantage. It doesn't provide you with any cushion. So when we talk about wealth, we want to understand how to attain wealth. Attaining wealth is something that we should all aspire to, but we also have to attain wealth ethically. Listen, anytime you attain wealth at the expense of anyone else, it is not true wealth. If you're obtaining wealth on the backs of people, at the expense of people, or by abusing people, that is not true wealth. What that is that's ill-gotten gain. And I promise you that as karma is a factor in the universe, that this will come back to you. And listen, right now in this country, in the United States of America, we're seeing that because there was a lot of wealth that was attained immorally. But when you attain your wealth morally, in other words, how you attain wealth is you provide some good or service to people that they are willing to exchange the fruit of their goods, services, or labor for your good or service or labor. That's how it works. And when it happens organically, it's something that it begins to build momentum. My case study in this is Bill Gates. Bill Gates had a vision of a computer on every desk. Now, you have to understand that 40 years ago, this was a huge lift. It was a huge intellectual and conceptual lift, because computers occupied big rooms. Listen, I was aboard the USS Nassau, and we had a computer, it was a Sperry Univac computer, and this thing occupied probably about 2,500 square feet over 2 decks, 2 floors, because we had an upper deck and a lower deck for the computer room. And this thing was huge, but this thing didn't have the power of a phone. Matter of fact, it wasn't even in the same ballpark. Matter of fact, there are scientific calculators today that have more computing power than this computing apparatus that was aboard my first Navy ship. Okay. But Bill Gates had this vision, and what happened was he developed what's called an operating system, and he partnered with a company called Wang Computers. And probably nobody remembers Wang right now, but Wang was one of the pioneers of mini computers, which is basically the forerunner of client server computing, which is kind of like the norm now. And Wang was also a pioneer in desktop computing. And rather than license out IBM's OS, which was what was on the IBM PC, which was the big thing in the 80s, the early 80s, Microsoft began to develop an OS for the Wang PC. And so Wang and Microsoft were joined at the hip, and Bill Gates began to make inroads into the computing business through Wang. Now, here's the thing. Wang was never a threat to IBM in the desktop computing business. However, what was proven was that Bill Gates' operating system was not only less costly than IBM's, but it was superior. And it got to the point where even IBM said, if you can't beat them, partner with them. And the rest is history. Microsoft is now legendary. They own the desktop operating system market. I mean, Apple has a small share. Different distributions of Linux have a small share, but Microsoft pretty much owns it. And this is visionary. So what happened is Bill Gates had developed something that businesses were willing to separate their capital from themselves with for what Bill Gates had developed. That's how wealth is developed. Again, another one of my case studies, Oprah Winfrey. Oprah began to develop this multimedia empire that basically had not just consumers who watch television who were willing to part with their dollars to consume her content, but also book publishers and other multimedia partners. And pretty soon, Oprah developed this juggernaut, this business empire that began to have its own momentum and a life of its own. And it began to really take over. And so now it's to the point where if you are a subject matter expert and you happen to get on one of Oprah's shows, you are pretty much set for life. If you are an author and you get in Oprah's book club, you are pretty much set for life. And a case study in the Oprah relationship is our buddy Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is a talented, gifted actor, writer, producer, you name it. And he was on his way to carving out a niche in the world. But then he had a moment of favor with Oprah, who had already had a moment of favor with others. And all of a sudden now Tyler Perry is a household name. You get what I'm saying? So all of these people, they have money, but one of the things that Tyler Perry talks about now is the peace that he enjoys. Oprah talks about her peace. Bill Gates talks about his peace. People have peace. This is something that's intangible. Money can't buy and death can't take it away. And this is a form of wealth. And listen, when you get to the point where you are no longer working for your peace, but your peace is working for you. In other words, when people have peace, watch this, when people have peace, other people gravitate toward them. They want to partner with that peace. They want a piece of that peace. And when you have this peace in such a way that you are no longer working for it, I'll tell you, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I have peace, but I'm working for it because I don't have everything that in my life that contributes to that peace or that would seal or cement that peace. So there are still things that I'm working for. And so as long as I'm working, I have the peace. But what happens if I stop working? If I stop working toward the peace, or if the means by which I have obtained the peace go away, then I lose the peace. Do you follow what I'm saying? You want to get to the point where this is no longer an issue. You want to get to the point where money is no longer an issue. When you can wake up, when you get tired of sleeping, and you go to bed when you're tired of being awake, And this is irrespective of schedule. This is irrespective of what you may or may not have to do, or what anybody is expecting of you. When you get to that point, you, my friend, have obtained wealth. Now, so I've talked about attaining wealth and obtaining wealth. Now let's talk about maintaining wealth. Because in order to make the most of your wealth, you have to invest. And when it comes to money, you're going to have to invest in things that have a return on investment, or ROI. You're going to have to invest in some investment, some property, some stock, some treasury bond, something that actually makes money based on the money that is placed into it. And you're going to have to learn how to invest in people, because some people are consumers. They are gross consumers. And that means that everything that you put into them, everything that you invest into them is just simply being consumed, and you're not getting anything out of it. Now, some people will say, okay, well, Derrick, that kind of violates the principle of altruism. Well, yeah, it does, because you should have some expectation on the time you invest, or the talent that you invest, or the treasure that you invest in people. And I'm not saying that these people have to be there to make you rich financially, but they should contribute to your overall wealth. They should contribute to your peace, to your happiness, to your bottom line. They really should. And if they're not, you have to make some decisions. And I'm not saying just kick anybody to the curb arbitrarily, but what you have to do is you're going to have to draw some boundaries and decide whether or not this is something I want to continue doing, something I want to continue investing in. Okay, so that's another thing. That's maintaining, and then retaining. Don't let anybody steal from you. When you have wealth, there are going to be people that are going to try to steal your money. And likewise, they want to steal your happiness, and they want to steal your peace. Because someone who has not understood how to attain, obtain, maintain, or retain wealth, that these people are going to try to bleed you dry. And you have to protect yourself. This is the retaining part, to make sure that what you have attained, obtained, and maintained, that it retains with you. You are going to have to identify time thieves, energy thieves, hope thieves, happiness thieves, joy thieves, because these people are out here. Misery loves company. And when people don't understand themselves how to get what you have, they will either try to take what you have, or they will try to break what you have. And that's just as bad, because if somebody can if somebody can steal something from you, then at least they're trying to get it to use it themselves. But a lot of times people are just plain old haters, and they will try to break your shit, and you can't, you'll be broken and hopeless and joyless and penniless. And you gotta protect yourself against that. But what I want the takeaway from this to be, the call to action, if you will, for this, is that you look at how you can get wealthy. Because again, what this wealth will buy you. And I'm not talking about riches. What I'm talking about is wealth. That when you get an asset, and this asset produces for you, whether you do anything or not, now you have a productive asset in your life. And productive assets, when you stack productive assets on top of each other, you begin to build wealth. And remember, wealth ain't just money. You gotta remember that. Gotta remember that. So that, I hope, is something that will help set the stage for you. Listen, there are people out here, honest people, legitimate people, that they are helping people attain, obtain, maintain, and retain wealth. Find those people. Find out how they do what they do. Partner with them if you can. Offer them something of value from you that they perhaps may not be able to do without, or that they may be able to do without it, but what you have in terms of yourself, it may be the secret sauce to them moving to another level, which in turn will begin to pull you to other levels. And I hope that that's encouraging. Hope that that's something that can help your week get started. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on my website at www.derrickday.com. Click the link marked contact, fill out the form, and it will send me an email. And if you send me an email, I promise that I will return it. I'm also the host of the Forward podcast, and my latest 2 podcast episodes with Rachel Beck and with Dr. Keenan Davis are absolute fire. I mean, both of these conversations talk about, indirectly, wealth and how to attain, obtain, retain, or maintain and retain it. Okay? So you want to check out those 2 podcasts. They are absolute fire. And then I'm also a co-host of the Heretic Happy Hour podcast. And this week we're starting a series on reconstruction after deconstruction. And I talk about how quantum reality or quantum spirituality has been the foundation for my reconstruction. And it's an awesome, awesome episode. And it's also featuring the one and only Rob Bell. So you don't want to miss that. And I will start up my blog on Patheos again this week. Now that this election nightmare is finally over with, I can go back to writing with a clear conscience. So check out Love Minus Religion on Patheos.com. And you can always hit me up on Instagram or on Twitter. My handle is Derrick E. Day. Or you can hit me up here on Facebook. Send me a direct message and I will get back to you. I promise. Everyone now, let me say this. When you inbox me, I'm not a guy that's given a chat, just chit chat unless I know you. But if you have a specific question, I will do my best to answer your question. So until the next time, which I will be back Tuesday night with Quantum Spirituality. You don't want to miss that. And then also on Friday, I'll be back with Aaron Tomlinson. We do Freeology Friday and we'll help you get free. So until the next time, peace, namaste, love you, talk to you soon.